Hi guys, believe it or not, this is the 80th video that we have done since COVID hit us, in 2020. Now we are standing right now on the brand new stage of our brand new building, which didn't even exist when we started or when COVID started. At the beginning of the year, we were at Panthers setting up and pulling down in the club. Then COVID hit, and then most of you know the history of what's happened in 2020. But one of the things that is just really exciting is that we have spent the last 3 to 4 months fitting out this new building. We have done a kids area, we have done a cafe area, a lounge room, we've built this studio, we've done an auditorium. There are so much stuff has happened, and believe it or not, and I know you probably already know this, but next Sunday at 5 p.m. we have our very first service in this brand new building on this brand new stage. And I want to officially invite you or just remind you that it's coming up really quick. 7 days from today, and we're going to be here live. And I really want everyone to turn up. Even if you just make a special effort, whatever you're doing, change whatever you're doing, and make sure you're here for the very first service. Now, don't forget, we still are in COVID, and there's rules and regulations and sign-in and square meterage and all that sort of stuff. Now, we've taken all that into consideration. We've got hand sanitizer, signs, a COVID plan, everything you know so much about. But what you do need to do is book your seat before you get here, okay? So go into our CoSide app, just look up CoSide on the app, download it, and then pick save a seat, save your seat, and that way you'll make sure that when you get here next Sunday, you won't be turned away, that it'll actually be a seat saved for you. Now look, we still have plenty of seats left, so don't panic, just get on there, get it done, and you will be notified if the numbers go over. Now, one more thought I have for you before we have our first live service, and I want to bring it to you out of John chapter 4 and verse 34. This is Jesus speaking because it actually says, Jesus said, it says, "My food," Jesus said, "is to do the will of him who sent me and to finish his work." Do you know that as a church, we are doing exactly the same thing? We are here on planet Earth for a very limited time. We've only got our 70, 80, maybe 100 years that we've got here. And one of the main things that we're meant to do while we're here on earth is to finish the work that God started and that Jesus did over 2,000 years ago. And I want to encourage you, when we start meeting here again together next Sunday, we are going to be finishing the work, adding to the work, completing the work, spreading the good news, and creating an environment where people can praise, can worship, can pray, can connect, can support each other. We are doing all of that right here in this place. But look what else Jesus said. It says this, don't you have a saying, and this is talking to the guys back in the Bible times, it says, you say, still 4 more months until the harvest. But I tell you, look and open your eyes. The fields are ripe for harvest. I got to encourage you. You may have just been thinking, well, you know what? The world's going on and things are happening and COVID and all that stuff that's happening. But I want to tell you something that Jesus asked us to do. He said, look past what's happening in the world. Look past COVID. Look past things that are going on and start to realize that there is a world out there. There is a nation out there. There are people out there that do not yet know God. And do you realize that when we continually do the work that Jesus started when he died on that cross, so every single one of us could have that free pass into heaven and that free pass for forgiveness for everything that we have done wrong, that we are now able to spread that good news to everybody else. And don't just think it'll never happen. Don't just think nobody will come. Don't just think, well, people have made their decision of where they're going to spend eternity. People have not yet made their decision. And what we're doing here is going to encourage people to rethink where they're going to spend eternity. Rethink how they live their life right now. Rethink what God has done. Rethink what Jesus has done for us, and realize that there is a harvest out there of people that don't yet know God, and because of what we do right here, it's going to change them and influence them to understand the truth and the reality of what God has done. You know, I just love this little talk that Jesus gave to them. He says this: even now, he who reaps draws a wage and harvests a crop for eternal life, so that the sower and the reaper may be glad together. Thus the saying, one sows and another reaps, is true. I have sent you to reap what you have not worked for, and I have I have sent you to reap what you have not worked for, that the others have done the work. Now, do you realize that it's not a pecking order? It's not about who's up here and who's down here. God has just said, all of us, we're going to reap people and influence people that we may not have worked for. We may not have prayed for them. We may not have spoken to them. They may not have watched our church online. They may have watched someone else's church online. But people are sowing all the time. They're sowing the truth of what God had done. And then there's also a time where people will reap and people will come in and see what God has done. And I want to encourage you, don't worry whether you're a sower or whether you're a reaper. I don't mind whether this video goes to someone and they say, oh, well, maybe I should start thinking about God. Or where someone watches this video and goes, do you know what? That's the final straw. I believe God's there and I'm going to go and check that church out. Don't worry whereabouts you are on the pecking order. Just realize that all of us are sowing and all of us are going to be reaping. And I believe that this church has done sowing and this church has done reaping. This church has got a lot more sowing and this church has got a lot more reaping to do. So let me encourage you, as we come back in 2020, after COVID, next week, we're going to start reaping and we're going to start sowing again. And I cannot encourage you enough to be a part of what we're doing. 5 p.m. next Sunday, the 6th of December. Be here. It's going to be awesome. Our first service in the new building, and can't wait to see you live.